Hey guys, it's Jed with Acrylic University and BraveArtist.com, where we are going to be answering your questions about how you can propel yourself forward as a career artist or somebody who's wanting to move in that direction. So I don't know if I'll be able to answer all your questions, but I will do my best. And Peter, my good friend, is going to jump in whenever he can to help fill in any gaps that I have. But I wanted to start by saying this one thing. Your greatest resource is your mind and your mindset. If you can wrap your head around the idea of being energetic and positive about your work and what you're doing and exude love and create from a place of love, that's going to help you, because there will be obstacles. And as I was looking at your questions, I know that there are things that are going to come up that are going to be difficult, that will challenge you. But you need to believe in your inner self that you have what it takes to be an artist, to sell paintings, and that somebody out there would love to look at your artwork. Now, that doesn't mean that you won't have paintings that you don't want to sell. It doesn't mean that you don't have a lot of work to get to the place that you need to be to have paintings that somebody else would love, because just because you love it doesn't mean that it's objectively good or that somebody else will absolutely love it. But it means that you have what it takes inside, and you need to believe that about yourself, and you need to quiet the inner critic along the way, because the inner critic will keep you from taking any steps forward. And that is the one constant thing that every one of us needs, is we need to have the ability to take one step after another and pursue the vision that we have and the artistic dream that we have, or we will never get there, right? I mean, sitting in fear will never get us to our goal. So I just want to start by saying that. Now let's jump into some of these questions.
Now, real quick, before we jump into this, there's just a couple things I want to add to that awesome intro from Jed. Number one is that at a base level, just looking at your questions, having good artwork is going to accelerate everything else. So, for example, with Acrylic University, I'm sure a lot of you came from an advertisement. And one of the reasons we were able to get to where we are is because Jed's paintings were so appealing that people would click on them all the time and they liked them and all that stuff. And so that helped keep our advertising costs down. Now, you might not be running paid ads, but the same principle applies if you're just posting your artwork or trying to get into a gallery or trying to sell to people in your community. Good artwork will be an accelerator to all of that. So I would say is probably one of the most important things when it comes to becoming a full-time artist. So that's the first thing I would say. The second thing I would say is everyone just should start posting what they're doing online, just all the time. Like, make sure that you're on the art side of Instagram and TikTok. See what kinds of reels come across your feed in the art sphere that are successful. Copy them, post your paintings, post your processes, just post your journey and put it out there before you even have a website or anything like that. Of course, if you can start a website, that would be great, but just start posting what you're doing online, because making money online will be an accelerator and it'll remove a lot of roadblocks that stand between you and making a decent amount of money as an artist. So without further ado, let's jump into these specific questions.
Christy says, and by the way, if you want to ask a question, go to braveartist.com, join our group. And this is something that we want to do at least monthly inside of braveartist.com. So my current situation is that I feel a pull towards having a therapeutic art membership or course series. However, I don't know what to offer or how. My desired situation is knowing what I have to offer and how to sustainably give that without burning out and with joy. So it sounds like, Christy, in a way, you're, not even sure exactly what you want to do or how to do it, but you have a desire. And that's a very good place to start. My problem is executive dysfunction, uncertainty, and being slow to grow with other responsibilities. And if you're like me, you might have had to look up what is executive dysfunction. And I looked it up, and it's basically when you have a hard time is a symptom that it happens with conditions that disrupt your brain's ability to control thoughts, emotions, and behavior. So feeling like you're not necessarily able to focus, maybe because thoughts go different places. Executive dysfunction, uncertainty, and being slow to grow with other responsibilities. My question is, can you help me discover what I have that can be of value to others and show me how to provide it safely and ethically and joyfully? So great question, Christy. This is what I would say. I don't know if I can help you, but I can potentially put you on a trajectory to where you will be able to discover what that is for yourself. And I have two thoughts. One, I was listening to somebody, it was actually Mark Zuckerberg. I just saw this today, but it's this little video of him talking about starting Facebook and saying there was no aha moment where everything became crystal clear. It was over the course of a long period of time, little aha moments after the ball was rolling that helped develop their organization and their vision into what it is. But it wasn't this one single thing. And he was talking about how I think that he was saying, I think that it's a problem because movies so often put it into this thing like, oh, you're just kind of struggling along. And then all of a sudden it all came together and it was crystal clear. This is what I need to do. And so the hero of the story, the heroine of the story goes forward and never doubts again, really, or it's just a clear path in front of them, what they need to do. His point was, it's not that at all. And that can intimidate us if we don't know what we're trying to do exactly. We just have a desire. We have somewhat of a vision, but it's very unclear. It's fuzzy. We don't see it clearly. I think the point is, don't wait till it's crystal clear. Just start trying, start putting it out there. Imperfect action is going to beat perfect procrastination. Like, perfectionism is going to slow you down no matter what, and you won't gain anything from that. Be a person of action, take little action, even if it's imperfect. Take massive action, really. I mean, you just want to throw yourself out there in a lot of ways, but even if it's just small things that you can do on a regular basis, they add up over time. So that's the first thought, is don't wait. Try to start even if you don't know exactly what it is. And the second piece of advice I would say that would help you discover what it is that you have to offer, because I can't do that. No one can do that. I don't really think anybody can do that except for you. And you have to do the hard work. And the hard work, the second part of it is work with real people. Don't try to do this online. You will have such a hard time figuring out, what do I have to offer? I think that your best way of figuring this out is to find a place you can volunteer, find a place you can serve, find people who you think you might be able to help, and see if it's an option that you could offer something. I don't know what that looks like. I don't have that many ideas. I don't have, that much knowledge of your area where you live or anything like that. But this is what I know. For me, when I was early on, we had a studio that had live, real people coming to it. And I learned so much from teaching live classes with real people that I honestly don't think I would have learned at all, or it would have taken many years to have been able to observe all the things that I learned in those live art classes, where I'd have anywhere between 10 to 20 people there live on a weekly basis. And I was able to see, okay, when I present this is what happens. When I show them this reference photo, they get that kind of intimidated. And if I show them this kind of thing, then this is a little easier for them. If I say it this way, I would see these direct correlations, and I could see what was helpful and what wasn't helpful. So that's my thought, is if you don't know what you have to offer, you're never going to find out by not doing something. So take action. And the second part is try to do it locally with people who are real and in front of you, because you'll be able to observe and actually see what is connecting with people and what isn't.
So I can relate to you on this, Christy. I have ADHD, and I know exactly what executive dysfunction is and what it feels like, and it's awful. Some of the things that have helped me are good sleep, good diet, good exercise, getting sunlight, as well as deadlines. I always operate really well under strict deadlines. So one thing that I've done, if you have somebody who can impose a deadline on you, that really helps. Otherwise, sometimes I'll impose deadlines on myself that I try to stick to, and I'll try to incorporate like kind of punishment or reward incentives to kind of hack my brain to get me to do the things like, okay, I'm not going to let myself go do this until I finish this, for example. If it's something I know I need to do, but I'm not as excited about it as something else, I go, oh, okay, I need to do this first, and then I'll go and let myself do that. But deadlines have helped me out a lot. And then I would say in terms of figuring out what it is that you offer, every single person, like every single one of you are your own niche that somebody will resonate with and will pay to learn from you or just be with you even. So what I would do is just sit down and think about what about your experience is unique or makes you qualified. So like, what about your specific experience of healing and stuff like that would resonate with others? Think about aspects of how your journey could benefit others and then share those things with them online or in person. Those are kind of my thoughts with that. In terms of doing it ethically, just provide real value, right? Like don't charge insane amounts of money, like actually care about the person. Like it all comes down to you care about your customer and you're trying to give them value. And if you're doing that, then I think you'll do business ethically. Like I think if you actually care about the well-being of the people you're working with, that it'll happen. Like you'll be able to do it ethically. So those are my thoughts. Great question.
Okay. Second question. Victoria says, I would really appreciate if someone could share their experiences with exhibitions and selling, how to find a gallery, how to get exhibited, etc. I'd appreciate any info. So great question, Victoria. And again, I'm sorry that I don't really know too much about your exact situation. I see this answer here from Carla. One way to exhibit your work is through Artsy, an online marketplace. She says that you need to be represented by a gallery already to be able to do that. My experience has been in talking to gallery owners and even observing their persona when I've gone into galleries and said that I was an artist. You have to know that a gallery owner gets approached by hundreds of people every month, and they don't need you in their, like they don't need you as an artist generally. Like if they need you, they're probably not that great of a gallery. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't try it. I'm just saying that if you need them, it also says something. We live in a world that I think you can be an artist, you can be a full-time artist, you can sell your work, and you can do it without a gallery. But you have to be good. You have to be really good. You have to master your craft. And I think what happens is a lot of times people want the shortcut to be able to do something without the long effort to get there. Again, I'm not trying to discourage you, but I am trying to be realistic, because there are way more people who want to be artists, who want to sell in galleries, and then there are places to sell and galleries that are looking for people. And so what is going to make you stand out among the 200 people that came and talked to that gallery owner that month? You need to be developing yourself as an artist, and you need to be presenting yourself in a way that stands out. So that's my thought. The other part of that is you will need to invest some energy and effort into how to spread the word without the help of a gallery. That might mean social media. It might mean local brochures, talking to people. It might mean going outside your home and standing on street corners and painting something that is in the public eye, that people who are passing by, people who are working on that street, people who have businesses will be able to see who you are. They'll be able to understand what you're about, and you can hand out your business cards. You could wear a t-shirt that has a QR code on the back of it that takes them to your website. There are things that you're going to need to do that are going to take effort and energy to market yourself that will help you become more attractive to a gallery. So for instance, I have a fairly large following on Instagram, and I know that that does things for me. I know that when I talk to a gallery owner and I share my Instagram handle and they say, oh, wow, this guy has thousands of people who like his work enough to follow it, that it says something to them, even if they don't mean for it to. It's psychologically helpful for me. And so again, none of these things are magic. None of these things will guarantee that you're going to get into a gallery, but they can be helpful along the way. And so hard work, keep improving yourself as an artist, and also be working some type of marketing and spreading the word about yourself, whether that's in person or on social media. But those things will help you along the road as you're trying to get into a gallery. And you might find potentially that you don't need a gallery if you do that part good enough, that you are directing enough traffic to your site that you're able to sell work even without a gallery. Okay. Carla says, currently I am working part-time while building my art business. My desired outcome is to be able to support myself as a full-time artist. My problem is finding the best way to market my art and who to market it to. I need to set up an artist website, then figure out what to do next. I need a workable plan. Thank you for your help. Okay, Carla, good question. I answered it in part already in my response to Victoria, because I just think you need to be realistic. You need to have a dream, and it needs to be based in reality. You need to be willing to put in the work, and you need to have an honest, critical eye of your own work, meaning you will only improve the amount that you're able to analyze your work and recognize where it needs to be improved, and then put in the time and effort to make yourself better. Going to workshops, taking classes, all those kinds of things matter. I kind of believe this. One of the things I heard from Robert Gann, one of the first instructors I ever had, he said, a great artist never goes unnoticed. If you're a remarkable artist, you will be discovered at some point. And I believe that. I believe that if you are really, really good and you put effort into social media marketing, you can spur that on yourself right now. If you have some money to put into ads, you can help that. If you have anything that can go into that, you can help yourself by speeding that on. Okay, great question, Carla. I think I answered part of it already in my response to Victoria, but I will carry on and try to fill in any gaps. So I think that you need to work super hard, and you need to be realistic. Your realism needs to be grounded your dream needs to be grounded in realism. Your realism needs to have wings of a dream. You can't have one without the other, because you need to stay optimistic and positive, but you also need to be able to analyze your work and be realistic about where you're at. To make a full-time living, you need to go, okay, how much money do I need to make? I'll just throw out some numbers, but is a full-time living $50,000 a year? So that's a little bit more than $4,000 a month. But if we just took $4,000 a month, that means you need to make $1,000 a week. Now this has to be, I don't know how you break it down, but even if you just had all the expenses in there, you'd say, I need $1,000 a week is going to be enough, even if you paid, $100, $200 for whatever you needed to do to get that to happen. But let's just say $1,000 a week was enough. Then you would have to say, how many paintings do I need to sell a week? So you need to sell one painting a week, that is $1,000, or two paintings a week, that is $500, or 5 paintings a week that are $200. And then you can start, or you can break down every month. You need to sell one $1,000 painting, 2 $500 paintings, 5 $200 paintings, and 10 $100 paintings, right? Like that adds up to $4,000. And you could try to figure out how to do that. But that puts a realistic number and idea in your head. So like that's a lot of work to do that. You could say, well, I need to make $4,000 a month. I only want to paint one painting. I paint and sell my own paintings, and I will create big paintings, commissions that I can do. And well, let's say I'm going to do 2 big commissions a month. They're both going to be $2,000, or they're going to be $2,500. And when I take out the expenses, that'll equal $4,000 in profit for me. You have to figure out what you want to do, and then you have to make a plan. And then you have to go, where am I going to do that? How am I going to do that? Do you have a website that's active? Are you driving traffic to it? See, it takes a lot to be able to make a living. I know from experience, it takes a lot. It doesn't just happen, and it won't just, materialize even if you're doing hard work. You kind of need a few things to come together at the right time. But it will not happen without hard work, and it won't happen unless you're aiming at something. So being realistic with how much you need to make is one of the first things. And just from personal experience, I would try to err on the side of overestimating. At least don't underestimate how much you need, because there's always going to be expenses and things, and you're going to have to pay taxes because you're self-employed. And so there's a lot of costs that are going to need to come out of that gross amount that you make. Now, I've only talked about selling work. There are other ways to make a living. You can teach. So is there a school near you? Do you have the ability to host workshops in your studio? Can you figure out a way that you can tutor art students or something that could generate some income for you? What about the idea of commissions? Can you schedule commissions? Do you have a way for people to get to know you? There's a lot to do, but you need to have the dollar amount that you need to make. And then you need to set that as your goal. And you really need to start tracking what is working and what isn't working, because you don't have to start at your goal, but you need to begin moving in that direction. Being able to analyze what's working and what isn't working is going to be helpful for you. But again, I think it's a very good goal. You need to be realistic about it, and you need to just take it one step at a time. Like an artist website is a really important step, and so is continuing to get better in your art. You can't stop getting better in your art at any point along this journey. That has to continue however many years that you are pursuing this goal. Great goal, though.
And then to add to that, Carla, I would say figure out whether you want to do a local or an online approach. Either way, I would open an art storefront with the website that Jed is going to link. He's going to talk about it later in this episode, and we're going to link it on this video. I would open an art storefront there so that whether you decide to do an online or a local approach, you have a website to send people to. So that's step 0. Then I would obviously hone your craft like I was talking about. Make sure that your art stands out. And then just start posting tons of stuff online. And this is why you have to love what you're doing, because you need to be, I would say, a decently prolific painter, or at least have paintings that are complex and beautiful enough to create tons of interesting content from the process of making that painting. Now, this is kind of a dangerous road to go down a little bit. And the only reason I say that is because in today's world, artist and content creator are becoming very blended, and it can be easy to fall into the trap of trying to make only content and not making art. But all that aside, the best advice I could give you would be to just start posting stuff online like crazy and see where it goes. I know a lot of people who are good artists, have good artwork, didn't really have a plan, but just started posting stuff online, and then stuff naturally came of it because they were talented. This happened to me, not with my artwork, but with something else that I did. I did a coaching thing for a game that I played, and I just posted one of my coaching sessions online for fun, and then it was really good, so the algorithm pushed it all over the place, and then I suddenly had a bunch of coaching students just fall into my lap. So hope that helps.
Abby says, my current situation is I am retired, but I need a part-time job because retirement income is not enough to live on while reinvigorating myself in my art projects. My desired situation is just to draw and paint and to make extra income from this because it is a thing that I love to do. I'm currently taking a plein air class, and I love sitting outside in the sunshine and painting. My problem is a weird answer considering that I am retired. It's time. My question is how to meet fellow artists in my area so that I can join a live group and do this type of work, going to places with people so that I'm not alone. Because basically you're saying I don't want to be in isolated and unusual places, and I'd like to talk and share with somebody while I'm painting. So I don't know where you live exactly, but I'm trying to think if there's a place you can find that any information. I would just go to any gallery, any art center, anywhere. If you ever see an artist, I would look it up on the internet. You are the one that's going to have to do that work. But you might find that there is nothing in your area. And then you might say, okay, are you willing to put the effort into creating something in your area? Because if you have the desire, then there's probably somebody else who has that same desire. In fact, that's how I started Acrylic University, was because I knew that I needed to grow in acrylic painting. And I was having a difficult time finding anybody who taught acrylic landscape painting and was good, and somebody that I thought I could learn from. I did find a few, but some of the ones weren't teaching, and other ones lived so far away that it wasn't feasible for me to learn from them. And I just thought at the end of that time, and I started realizing, wow, there's gotta be more people than just me who wanna learn how to paint in acrylics in a way that would be beautiful and representative, and maybe I should start that. So again, you might be able to do that. I love this. Nancy Doppler says, our local art group became more crafty, so she drives to another town. Oh, I guess it's not that. I do think that groups come and go. So, but she has a couple good ideas there, including the next door group. But I would just put the word out there. You won't know until you ask.
Abby, so one thing I would say, look at online Facebook groups to see if there are any in your area that are active, if you haven't already. The other thing I would say is paint in public places if you can, and strike up conversations with people. People might strike up conversations with you. And then one thing that just kind of popped into my head is like, you might actually be, and hearing some of the comments that replied to you about like, this art group isn't active and this artwork switched to crafts and all that kind of thing, you might have identified actually a niche right there, in that people who are older or retired are looking for other people to paint with. And do you think you could accomplish that need that you're talking about with an online group, right? Like maybe you make a group where the people who join are committed to meeting up with each other online on Zoom and just talking about the painting things they're going through. Maybe even just sitting in Zoom and painting together a few times a week or a few times a month, whatever it is. Maybe that's kind of your avenue, right? Like if it's not out there, maybe you create it and you start it. So anyway, hope that helps. I know it's a little vague, but thank you for your question.
Gerri asks, my current and desired situation is continuing to hone my skills so I can have a showing in or near my hometown. The problem is that I live in a very artsy area, and it's hard to find anywhere to show or to have my paintings hung. I'd love to know how to find places that are genuinely interested in my work so I could place paintings around my city. Gerri, great question. And I don't know where you live, so I have no specific information for you. But like I was saying earlier, you will struggle unless you can stand out. And it sounds like there are a lot of good artists in your area. So you need to continue to improve, and you can continue to approach galleries. You can continue to approach businesses. And what I would suggest is go to businesses, go to places that aren't your traditional art gallery, go to cafes, go to little bistros or restaurants that may show artwork. And even if they're not right now, you can still approach them. So guys, all of this is hard work. You're not going to find an easy answer in any of this. I don't know the answer, but all I know is that you have to overcome a lot. That's why I want to encourage you, because I don't want to mince my words. I don't want to give you false hope like, oh yeah, all you need to do is this, and then you'll have all your dreams come true. No, it's going to be just like anything else where you need to put in a ton of time, a ton of effort, and you're going to have to overcome fear, big time fear. You're going to have to say, I'm willing to accept 100 rejections. And if I can accept 100 rejections, maybe in one of those, I'll get a yes. And maybe that yes will be something that leads to something else. You don't know until you go. You don't know until you try, but you can't give up just because you get rejected once or twice or 10 times. You have to keep going. So that's my encouragement to you. Keep going and look for the non-traditional places that may have, they might be an easier path for you than the traditional, big gallery that already has 20 artists in it.
Okay, Gerri, so it sounds like you're in an area that is fairly competitive. So going back to what I said at the beginning, just hone your artwork, make it really freaking good. And then when it comes to hanging your artwork in places, this is what it all comes down to. Whenever you are trying to do something like that, or just in general, you want to think about the person you're trying to work with and what do they want? What would they benefit from? So in your example, you want to hang paintings around your town. Where do you want to hang those paintings, and who owns the spaces where you want to hang them, and what would they benefit from? So like, for example, this is just totally out there example, but let's say you have a classic car club in your area. Would they want paintings inside their headquarters or something like that of a bunch of their cars to kind of show off what they have, right? Maybe there's a bar in town that's going for a certain kind of vibe that you could really contribute to. Like, you really want to think about where you want to hang your artwork and what those spaces, or the people who own those spaces, what they would benefit from by having them there. And you can come up with all kinds of creative stuff. Like, if there isn't an incentive structure in place for them, you could come up with something, right? Like, there's a lot of ways to get creative, but you have to, if you're going to be using other people's spaces like that, and you're going to be trying to get people to accept you into things, you're going to need to think about it from their perspective. And that usually starts with having good artwork and also coming up with some sort of way that this benefits them.
Susanna says, my current situation is that I'm in my 5th home art studio. Last year, I sold a large canvas and a small canvas. They were 1 whimsical and 2 local landmark. My desired situation is me knowing how and where to sell, to make excellent prints, to sell locally, and to get my website capable of selling originals. My problem is I worked for weeks to show at a local festival with my local artist club and sold nothing. So hubby now says, my problem, I'm too focused on making my art for income and not just for pleasure. My question is, how can I have more fun and make enough from my art to pay for supplies at least? Okay, I'm going to show you faso.com. This is fine art sites and storefronts. This is probably the easiest way to do this. It might not be the cheapest, but man, I just believe that if you want to try to sell your art, you're going to have to pay money. You have to do some of this stuff. But you can see they do art prints on demand. So it will ship art prints directly to your buyer, which means you don't have to buy 100 art prints and then store them for people, because you are going to just order them online, or the people will order them from your website, and it will get shipped directly to them. So that's what I would say is a good option if you want to sell prints like that. This also will help you sell work on your site that is original. That's pretty important for you. There are other options, like you could do a website like I do. I use Wix. There are people who use Squarespace. There's lots of different website builders that are fairly intuitive and easy to use. But this is going to be the easiest because it's built for artists, and it just has a lot of the features that are built into it that you won't have to try to figure out a separate solution for. So that's what I would say. If you want to build a website out, I would go to faso.com, faso.com. And I would say, paint what you love. Don't ever fall into the trap of trying to figure out what other people are going to like. Just paint what you love. So whether that's whimsical work, whether that's local artwork, if it's local, paint something that you love that's local. If it's whimsical, paint something that you love and do it in a whimsical way. I think that that's going to come out and you will be enjoying art in the process while you're trying to sell your work. But again, good question, Susanna, and I wish you the very best.
One thing I would add, Susanna, just to be super honest, it sounds like you worked really hard to show your artwork at a local festival and you didn't sell anything. This could be a number of reasons. I know those things are very competitive and art is kind of a luxury product. So there could be any number of things that could have contributed to this, but I just want you to get maybe an honest outside perspective or something like that. But it's entirely possible that your artwork just isn't at a sellable point. It might be sellable to some people, but it might not have enough mass appeal to be able to sell it at festivals. And I don't say that to be mean or to be rude or anything like that, but just kind of the thing we've kind of been hammering over and over is like square one, you have to understand that your art has to be really good and it has to stand out. So that's what I think about first. And obviously it's going to be really hard to improve your artwork if you're thinking about selling it for other people. So definitely, like Jed said, focus on painting what you love and really kind of lean into that. Like, for example, I love to draw. I'm not good at drawing a lot of things, but I'm really good at drawing hands. And I found ways to express different cool things just by drawing different hands or different hands holding different things or whatever it is. And that could be kind of a unique thing in and of itself if I decide to like hone it and move more down that direction. So just kind of a silly example. But then I would also say, just like I've been telling everybody else, post online, post your work online. So good question.
Christine says, my current situation is I run a studio/gallery with 12 resident artists. I teach 20 hours a week. I paint and compete with the rest of the time, or I neglect other responsibilities to paint and teach. My desired situation is a steady stream of income without so much outgoing. My problem is transitioning, which is becoming a fourth job. My question is how to balance it all. I'm starting to face burnout, but I feel like I'm almost there. It's the last leg of the race, but the last leg is 10 more miles. Christine, good questions or question. And I'm trying to think through here. So one thing that I want to say that's kind of tricky is I heard one person say, everybody wants recurring revenue without recurring work, but that's not really possible. Even if you have recurring revenue, it still is going to take work to keep it going. There are always changes that come and influence what you're doing and how you do it. And you have to adapt, you have to change things. So I would just say to have that mindset, knowing that even if you get something set up that can provide recurring income, it's still going to take work and effort to make it go. For instance, say you have the best membership, the best course in the world. How are people going to find it? How are people going to come to you? You have to spread the word. You have to figure out how to run ads. You have to do this work because no one's going to do it for you unless you pay them. So if you have a lot of money that you want to pay people to do the work for you, it's a different story. Then I just say hire the right people, find a team that can really do this and help you make it the last leg. But I know that for most people, probably for you, it's not an option. And it's not really an option for anybody. When we were starting Acrylic University, it was so hard. That's why I didn't really want to try to convince people that they should do it, even though it did turn into something that was good. It was so hard and it took so long for it to work and to be feasible that I just didn't feel like I'd ever want to push somebody through that. Now, I will say that with Skool, this platform right here, that it has made it easier to do things. And I do know a couple models that I think are pretty awesome. And I think it's easy here on Skool because it's $99 a month. It gives you the capabilities to email a few people here and there. Like when you do a post, it can send out an email, but you can only do 2 a week. So there's limitations, there's good things, but it simplifies it down in a way so that you can have your course and you can have your calendar and you can have your community all in one spot. Now, the image size is an issue for an art group because you have to double click to get an image to blow up big. Is that a deal breaker? It could be for you. I don't love it. I don't love it at all for an art sharing group. I think for what we do on Brave Artists, it's okay because we're not primarily sharing work, we're sharing ideas, and it's okay for that. But depends on your use whether that would be a deal breaker for you. But there are other platforms that you could find that will allow you to host and do all these different things. And you can always just use a Facebook group or something, some other community to host your community. But knowing that there are places and ways now that have made it easier, it helps me realize, okay, you can do this. We have a friend who started her own Skool group. She didn't have any pre-recorded content. She started with the idea. She said, I'm going to do a live session on, I think she does them on Zoom twice a month. One is a demo and one is more like a Q&A type of thing. And she actually does record those demos, but she doesn't have them available until the live session. And then there's the live session, and she plays it from her computer during the live session, and then she can stay at the end and answer questions. And this has enabled her to really just hit the ground and say, hey, who wants to join this? She didn't have to do a ton of work in the background. She didn't have to do a ton of work, setting everything up or recording hours and hours and hours of a course, or, like when we started, it took us 6 months of recording before we were ever able to share it with anybody because we had it all backwards. We thought we needed to get everything done beforehand. So that kind of idea, I think, can help you say, what is it that you want to do? Can you record one lesson and just have it somewhere that you could play it live on a Zoom call? Then I think you have enough to start something that you could do online. Because you could host things on YouTube for free. You can, for $99 a month, get a Skool account or find another platform. I just say Skool because I have used it and I know that it's fairly simple on the back end and it works. So those are my thoughts, because it's going to take a lot. That first push is really hard. I would try to find somebody that can come alongside you. I would try to find somebody that can assist you. Honestly, that's worth praying about because I feel like I didn't know what to do and how to find people or anything, but I prayed from the very beginning. And I just think that God helped us a lot and every day still does, because I don't know hardly anything about anything. I just have tried to commit things to the one that I know is smarter than me, and I have tried to use whatever gifts I have and whatever skills I've learned and whatever knowledge I might have also learned and put them into use. And I think you can do the same. But it is very nice to have a teammate along the way. And so I just encourage you to try to find teammates, because it helps when it's hard. It helps when you feel like you're pushing really hard. And even if it's not a teammate, a community that can help you is very helpful. So anyways, that's hopefully part of what Brave Artists can be. I don't know the full outcome that we can offer, but at least even knowing that there's other people who are trying and striving and pushing towards the same kind of common goal, maybe that can be helpful for you. But that's my best answer for you, Christine. And if you can make that last leg of the race a little bit shorter by cutting out some of the parts of the process and making it simpler, that's wonderful.
So Christine, like Jed was saying, like I've been saying, post your process online, post your artwork online. If you can start doing some business online, it's going to really, really help that transition speed up. The other thing I would say is it sounds like you actually have a pretty cool situation going on. You said you run a studio/gallery with 12 resident artists. So I feel like the day-to-day process of what that looks like could be interesting to some people. Like, I have no idea what that looks like, but I know there are people out there who would find that process interesting. And so if you filmed kind of the day-to-day of that and turned it into a short film or a vlog or something like that and posted it online, I think it could be super interesting. Maybe you find a young person who's been getting into photo or video and see if they would want to partner with you to help you edit something together and post it. Or I don't know if you are on TikTok or if you've seen those shorts, but people will just say, day in the life of a gallery owner, and then they just jump right into it. First I do this and I have to make sure this, and then it's really interesting and people watch through. So I would think about those things potentially, because I think the situation you're in could actually be, it's actually a unique thing that I think could be really interesting to other people. You can introduce some of the 12 resident artists on your channel or your social media or whatever and kind of show them what it looks like to run this studio. I think could be really interesting for people. So anyway, good question.
Okay, you guys, thank you for your questions. I do hope that you got something out of it. I hope that you are encouraged. I hope that you also took home something tangible that you can do today to help your art dream come true. For me, adios, you guys. I will see you next time. Thanks for joining.